Okay, listen. I'm going to open this up with our favorite guy in the whole wide world.
I don't know anything about politics. I don't know anything about politics. I don't know anything about politics.
CNN's Van Jones says we're screwed up the wazoo. Up the wazoo? Say it ain't so. Because it has to deal with Democrats and, well, the entire political situation. Are we screwed because of what happened on November 5th? I mean, here we go. How does he feel?
Yeah. And then just lastly, Van, in terms of Democrats and where they go from here, this last week.
Well, wait a minute. Why are you asking Van Jones when he said...
I don't know anything about politics. I don't know anything about politics. I don't know anything about politics.
I love that I caught that. That was beautiful.
We did see them some people try to protest during the president's address and then House leadership getting onto them, other Democrats calling them out. They still seem to be wandering around trying to figure this out. What's your take?
Can we ask another question? Do I have to talk about my own party? Can we talk about Ukraine or something? No. Look, man, we're screwed. I mean, we don't know.
We're screwed? What? I thought you guys said that Kamala and Biden had this in the bag, baby. That everything was good to go. That we had nothing to worry about. And that the Democrats were going to be great. Well, you know what? Now he says that we're screwed. Here's what I think about it.
Here's what I think about it.
There you go. Say it again, why we're screwed?
Party. Can we talk about Ukraine or something? No. Look,
why'd you talk about Ukraine? They're screwed too.
Man, we're screwed. I mean, we don't know. No, Democrats don't know what to do. This is a nightmare. Somebody like Donald Trump, we thought we'd at least have Hakeem Jeffries in the speaker's chair to hold him back if we didn't have Kamala in there to do the right thing. Listen, the Democratic Party is
Kamala to do the right thing. You really don't know anything about politics, do you? Because she was the least popular vice president and the most ineffective president in vice president in U.S. history. She ran a terrible campaign in the 2020 election cycle, and she ran a terrible campaign in the 2024 election cycle. It took her campaign 45 days or so, give or take, to put policies on her campaign website.
Going through a massive set of internal crises. You have a party that got trapped two ways. One, defending a broken status quo that nobody likes because they thought that Donald Trump was going to make it worse. But when you're defending the status quo, you're going to lose. And then offending most people in the country, calling everybody sexist and racist and transphobic and every other name, and then saying, please follow us. That's not a good strategy, folks. Defending a broken status quo and offending most of the country turns out is not as popular as my party thought it was going to be. And so it's going to take a while for people to get it figured out. I don't like talking about this. I'd rather be beat up. Can you give me something I can beat up Shermichael about? I don't want to talk about my own party.
I know. It's a tough question.
Oh, yeah. Because he doesn't know anything about
politics. I don't know anything about politics. I don't know anything about politics.
Yes, exactly. Because here's the thing. The layout for the Democrats, it's becoming a disaster. They have no plan. And it's something that, look, we just gotta run them down.
The other night I made a speech. The Republicans were going wild, and the Democrats were having their little signs up, little tiny signs. And I said, it's unbelievable. They don't get it. They don't get it now. And I think they're going to end up being a minor party if they keep going like this.
Yeah, there's the president with Maria B. arguing that Democrats could end up as a minor party if they don't revamp the message. What about that? Ro Khanna, Democrat out of California. How you doing, sir? Good morning. Thanks for saying yesterday. Saw you yesterday on Sunday with Shannon Bream. You can address the major/minor party, or you can address Van Jones, who had this warning on Sunday.
Look, man, we're screwed. I mean, we don't know. No, Democrats don't.
That's going to be shared everywhere. Say it again.
Look, man, we're screwed. I mean, we don't know. No, Democrats don't know what to do. This is a nightmare. Somebody like Donald Trump, we thought we'd at least have Hakeem Jeffries in the speaker's chair to hold him back.
Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries in the speaker chair. things that are not going to happen because the man, Hakeem Jeffries, that you just referenced, had admitted they don't know what to do. I mean, they're dying off. They're failing. They're falling. Stop crying, Van Jones.
If we didn't have Kamala in there to do the right thing.
What now, sir? Hello.
Look, parties go back and forth in American politics, but as you know, I stood up for the boy with cancer. I stood up when the president walked in. That's not where we need to make the argument. We need to make the argument on the economy. And in that interview, the president also said that he's not sure if there could be a recession. And you've got unemployment that's ticking up. You've got inflation ticking up. Consumer confidence is down. The Trump team is calling those short-term adjustments. That's concerning. That's where the Democrats need to focus. What is our economic vision?
Okay, all right. What is that vision? Want to get to that because Alyssa Slotkin says you guys are on your back end. Watch.
I don't think it's a secret that Democrats have been on their heels since Trump won the election. I think it's on us to be clear about not only leadership, and there's lots of leaders in both parties, but also a strategy. We are still finding our footing. And I think you can't get better until you admit you have a problem.
I mean, what is the strategy? I mean,
Nothing. That's why Van Jones is crying. That's why he's saying we're screwed. That's why right now we are in some unstable times, and we are having a party that has a complete identity crisis. I mean, Bernie cucked his entire organization away. You have AOC and the squad that's completely unaffected. They just don't have any real stratagem. This is the liberal implosion. And if I were third parties and independents right now, Greens and Libertarians, I'm looking directly at you. I'm looking at all independent parties at the county level, city level, state level, federal level. This is your time to shine and actually boot up and suit up. Because come next election cycle, be it the midterm and yes, by 2028, if you're not getting your crap together, even then my patience is going to go away. And I had a lot of high hopes. And Hard Lens Media has been very consistent. And yes, I love stepping on the Democrats. Yes, I'll be critical of the Republican Party too. But third parties, if you don't do anything these next 4 years that's effective, that's consistent, that actually can build up a real movement, well, then you're a waste of time. Because this is your time to strike. This is your time to build something.
Yeah, is it possum like Carville said, or are you going to go on the offense?
No, look, I think the strategy is to point out that some of their policies aren't working on the economy, that you can't cut $880 billion of Medicaid. That means the closure of hospitals and people being kicked off health care.
We don't know if
that
that's
you
happening.
can't. Well, I mean, the Republicans passed that budget. I mean, they just passed the budget with, in their numbers, $880 billion of cuts. You can't have blanket tariffs on allies that ultimately gives the grocery stores the ability to raise prices. But then we can point out where they're making mistakes. We also need to point out our vision. We have a vision to become a manufacturing superpower by investing in new steel industries in this country, by having new shipbuilding, by having new aluminum. We have a vision to make sure every kid has technology education. I represent Silicon Valley with the future of AI. We should be setting up AI academies in different places.
Then why don't you do it? Why didn't you do it then under the Biden-Harris administration? Why didn't you do it then when there was actually ample opportunity to do the right thing and actually fight back? But oh, wait, you don't do that, do you? You had these chances to step up and fight, but you chose not to. So in other words, in front of everybody, you're wasting my goddamn time.
We have a vision for making childcare affordable, for making healthcare affordable, so costs go down. That's what the Democrats need to be focused on.
Some of those ideas sound really good. Can I ask you something you said to Shannon yesterday? You know, the Al Green censure last week.
Yeah.
You didn't like his behavior. I heard that loud and clear from you, but you didn't vote to censure him either. And you said, I didn't vote to censure him because he did not engage in violence or something like that. He left. He was asked to leave. He left. Would it have required him to act out physically in order for you to approve a censure?
All right. And so we're not going to be focused on the Al Green censure because that was just one big waste of time. And it was embarrassing to even witness. But what can we see? What are we understanding here? It is the frailing last gasping breaths of a dying animal. We've seen all the documentary series before, when an old deer or bear or some magnificent animal is about to pass away. How about this? Let's call the Democrats and corporate media, people like Van Jones or Ro Khanna. They're all this big amalgam of this big giant whale, and it's going to pass away. And seeing such a gigantic beast pass away that's so bloated, what it's going to do is cause a whale fall. And it's a sloppy mess in which everyone witnesses a giant carcass in the middle of the ocean to be feasted upon. This is what the Democrats and corporate media have done to themselves. They lost their credibility. They lost their power. They've lost their influence. They lost any leg to stand on. They're hobbling around trying to make themselves look relevant, look smart, look capable. But they can't, because they abuse the one thing that matters, and that's trust of the people. Van Jones and people on CNN and MSNBC are hesitant to even talk about any kind of plans for the Democrats because their party doesn't have a plan. There was policies. I mean, if they adopted the Bernie Sanders method, then oh my goodness, boy, things would be very energetic for the Democrats. They would actually get things done. That's if they wanted to, but the leadership didn't want that. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, the DNC establishment, the entire party as a whole, the power players, the donors didn't want that. And now they're trying to dust out Bernie Sanders to get all these crowds to show up and support. And Joe, go ahead and be anti-Trump. Okay, fine. You can be anti-Trump, but what's the policy? Medicare for all, student debt forgiveness, investing in our infrastructure, ending the wars. I don't know, making our lives better. Maybe an American bailout, a debt jubilee, full-on tax jubilee where the American people are pardoned. Wouldn't that be a sight? But no. Van Jones says we're screwed. Confidence is high. No wonder corporate media is hemorrhaging views. No wonder corporate media is going under. And no wonder Democrats can't bring in the crowds that they once used to. Because they don't have what it frickin' takes. Never have and never will. With that being said, what's going on here? Hold on. Torwin. Some people being censored? What's going on here? Can't post? And hold on. Wendy, is everyone behaving themselves in the chat? Speaking of behaving themselves, folks, I've noticed we're at 412 outstanding people watching us live. We are at 320 likes. First of all, this is Sparta! We're past 300. Mastermind, that was for you. Yeah! 300 likes. Past that. Let's get to 400. Let's get to 420. Let's do that. I'm not wearing AI pants. Let's get to 420 likes. 420 because 420, it's 420. That's why. There you go. Who else we got here? Shout out to my Kick people. Kick. Is everything good on Kick? Shout out to Trans Gemini. Shout out to Quantum Alchemist. Who else we had? He's in 459. Trans Gemini. The Queen Mother says hello. Yes, she's not here anymore. She's over back across the ocean, but she gives a full salute to you guys and gals. So there you go. She loves all of you. Waka waka. It's me, Sarah P. And tired of the lies. Good to see you. Rumble bumble bumble. A rumble in the jungle. Rumble bumble. Let's get to 100 likes on Rumble, shall we? We're at 32 likes. Let's boost those numbers up. And let's boost those numbers up for Hard Lens Media too on YouTube. But now we want to move on. MoveOn.org to our next segment of the day. And hey, here's something that's going to scare all y'all. Let's get ready. Let's get to it. Let's get ready to do the dance off with the pants off, shall we? Yes, we should. All right. Call your mother. Go in her arms and cry. Because the stock market is in the red. Call your mom. Tell her you love her. I'm gonna do that. Actually, I'm gonna do that. I want to hold my mom right now and I don't know. Say, are we gonna make it? Because the markets yesterday and today seem to be in a little bit of trouble. And we got a little Donald Trump there dancing right there. because of this ridiculous tariff war. Hey, folks, what's going on with the tariff war? What's going on? Well, this happened yesterday. U.S. stock market loses $4 trillion in value as Trump plows ahead on tariffs. No pun intended. There you go. On New York, here we go. What's going on here? Oh, yeah, telling me to subscribe at any time. Let me go ahead and pull this up here for a recent updated news. Okay. Stock market today. NASDAQ erases gains. S&P 500, Dow extend declines as Trump boosts Canadian steel, aluminum tariffs. So there you go. Stocks erased what looked like the start of a comeback earlier in the trading day after President Trump said he's boosting Canadian steel and aluminum tariffs to 50%. In addition to these tariffs, Trump also threatened to substantially increase tariffs on cars coming from the U.S. Coming into the U.S. from Canada, aiding in a post on Truth Social that these tariffs will essentially permanently shut down the automatic manufacturing business in Canada. Those cars can easily be made in the USA. The tech-heavy NASDAQ composite eliminated gains to fall around 0.5% around the S&P 500, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average accelerated loss to decline about 0.8% and 1.1% respectively. The moves follow Monday's brutal sell-off, which saw the NASDAQ fall 4% to log its worst daily loss since 2022 as Magnificent Seven mega caps faltered. The shares in Tesla somewhat rebounded in earlier trade after the show of support from President Donald Trump. The mood on Wall Street has grown increasingly foreboding as investors gauge the chances of stagflation amid deep cuts to firms' economic forecasts and upending in the market's thinking on economic growth. What could go wrong? That has put the focus on two key inflation reports later this week: February's Consumer Price Index print due Wednesday and the Producer Price Index for the same month on Thursday. Labor market data released Tuesday was largely in line with Wall Street's expectations as investors have been watching closely for any further signs of cracks forming in the U.S. economy. On the corporate front, Delta Airlines stock slid, a fun slip and slide, after the carrier cut its outlook for the current quarter late Monday, citing macro uncertainty. Peers Southwest, LUV, and American Airlines also flagged headwinds on Tuesday, reflecting economic pressures on corporate performance. Everything's going under. Everything's in the deep red. Call your mama and tell her that you love her, that you want to cry and be in her arms, because this is the market and it's falling at a rapid pace. And we are in uncertain times where our own economy is going belly up, and it's a concern that every one of us should be worried about, especially as we are right now in an era in which Americans are struggling day in, day out just to make ends meet. I, for one, have a deep concern of the administration and what their plans are in regards towards making our lives better. But when you have Americans suffer for what we went through under the Biden-Harris administration get progressively worse, we are at a point to where we have to look at this and say, this is what our tech overlords and what our corporate overlords are putting us through. And if this is going to be an economic crash, I don't want to get any of you angry or upset, but be prepared to see a bailout. This tariff war that we are in, all what's doing is causing animosity and uncertainty. And this is a war between our political leaders. And we read an article on how the leader of Canada, the current leader, still wants to say, hey, Trump, we're still going to go back and forth and fight on these tariffs. You have everyone fighting on these tariffs, but this is not the time, especially in these uncertain especially in this uncertain political environment, in which we want to instigate people. Because again, it's going to be regular people that are going to suffer because of this tariff war, where they could potentially face homelessness. You know, all what this is going to do is cause a point to where someone's going to have a bad day, right? And one bad day can cause anyone to snap. One bad day can cause anyone to get aggressive and angry and furious, to take their frustrations out in the world. I remember the 2008 economic collapse. I remember a lot of stories about parents abandoning their kids, or people abandoning their pets, families losing their homes and living in cars, their entire savings Thanos out of existence. And then, of course, when we look at the 2020 lockdowns, in the aftermath of that, you have so many Americans in credit card debt. Something's going to explode. And if one person can have a bad day, a lot of people can have a bad day. Take care of yourselves, folks. It's going to get rough. I hope I'm wrong. Maybe things will rebound. But remember, when the market rebounds, the top 1% succeed. When it crashes, hey, pay the bill. That's you. You got to pay that bill.